Hello, everybody. How's it going? Ben Gothard here with another Project Egg interview, and today we are talking to Sweta Patel from San Diego. How you doing today, Sweta?
Great. And yourself?
Fantastic. Thanks so much for asking, and I really appreciate your time coming on this interview. So let's get started. Let's jump right in. My first question for you is, what is your story?
My entrepreneurial journey started back in college. This was back in 2006. And I had a huge passion, I still do, for young women in domestic violence situations. So, what I did was I got a bunch of partners together and we built this whole campaign called Pain to Victory, where we reached out to 80 different domestic violent homes all across the US. And this campaign was all about turning your pain into a story and using 5 minutes of any sort of art to be able to express yourself. So, in this campaign, we sold over 30,000 copies of my book. And that's where my passion for marketing came along because I felt like, okay, if I did this for myself, um, starting at ground zero, I could help a lot of other people get their passion out there as well. So that's when I opened my first marketing agency in San Diego, and I partnered with a PR firm, and we both worked together to build a team that was PR, media driven, and we were going after national brands. And throughout the years, I learned a lot. I made really bad hiring decisions and had to unfortunately close the agency. And I started working with a few coaches who were going to help me with my business. Instead of helping me, they actually made things worse. So I had no choice but to move to Northern California in Silicon Valley, where I was recruited by an incubator, um, top 500 startups, to work with their startups and portfolio startups. And, I just started working for free because I wanted to show them that, what it really meant when somebody was invested in your startup. And that's something I never got to experience because of all the scams that I was involved in. And I was just this entrepreneur who was aspiring to get somewhere. And, you run into these roadblocks where people take advantage of that. They see that as a vulnerable thing and they're like, oh, okay, this is like good prey for me to make some money from. And it's like, it's hard as it is to be an entrepreneur, to have that vision, to have that sort of goal in life, and then to, be sort of scammed by coaches and people like that. It shatters your dreams. So I had to kind of have a reset with my whole business and what I really wanted to do. And now I'm working on building a community of founders and marketers. And my long-term goal is to build out some dashboards for them, which is going to be a business in itself. So, and launching a book hopefully in the spring.
That's amazing. That's incredible. So, I kind of want to go back to your past and dig a little bit deeper here. So, you said your entrepreneurial journey started when you were in college, but I want to go a little bit before that. What was your childhood like? What sort of home were you brought up in, and maybe you could take us through chronologically how you got to college.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough because I didn't really have the best family dynamics, and but I just had this will and I had this strong drive. And my family dynamics were, I mean, not so great. I could have taken all these other paths that wouldn't have served me in the long run, but it was my will that wanted me to be independent. My will to, I've always had this motto. And I still do. And I always think, it's dollar over dudes for me because I feel like, my whole life I never wanted to depend on a guy, and for me, depending on anyone, even like my own family, is seen as like a weakness. And I wanted to be strong and independent, and the only way to do that is, be an entrepreneur, be your own, be unique. And so that's the path I decided to take. And in high school, I was, having a lot of illnesses. I was hospitalized for a few weeks, and I couldn't do anything. And eventually, over time, the illnesses went away, and I was told that I couldn't be running marathons, I couldn't be doing anything, and actually, the illnesses helped me come back stronger, and I ran my fourth half marathon this year, so um, yeah, it's been a journey, and I know that it's been a struggle, but my experiences have definitely shaped me to be the person I am today. And I look at people who, have grown up in normal households with both both parents always being there and present, and I have a hard time relating to that because everything was sort of spoon fed to them, where for me it wasn't. But the thing is, like, if you put them in a place where they've never been before, they're going to have a hard time, where for me, I'm already assimilated. So that's where, even though I have to work harder than the average bear to get to where I want to go, because I wasn't born with the talent, and I just was born with this will and this drive to get somewhere. And that's what's taken me, from, I guess, point A to where I am today.
That's incredible. That really is incredible. So, when you were in high school and growing up, you said your entrepreneurial journey started when you were in college. But what sort of tendencies did you exhibit that kind of pointed to or foreshadowed that you would become an entrepreneur later on? You kind of mentioned drive and independence, but were there any real defining moments that you could point to that really helped shape you to become an entrepreneur later on?
I would say, I guess, like, my desire to want to build something that impacted the world. And I wanted to always serve. And my desire to serve was a lot more larger at scale than to serve a company per se. I wanted to help people out in mass, and the only way I could do that was to build something that would then help them out in mass. So that's that's the path I decided to take.
That's awesome. That's incredible. So,
And
uh,
even oh, sorry to interject, but, like, even every job I held, in high school, I couldn't even keep it because I was struggling to work in this job mindset. But I'm an entrepreneur at heart, so for me, it's like, I work all the time. There's no one time I can't just work 9 to 5. And that's the other thing, that, like, I was trying to mold myself into this person that constantly worked, but it wasn't the case.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, let's segue into your college years, to when you first really started to develop as an entrepreneur. Can you talk about what really sparked that entrepreneurial bug, if you will? Because when you have it, you know what it is. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
So, what was that thing that finally clicked for you that you're like,
Uh-huh.
all right, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to pursue with my life, and being an entrepreneur is it.
At the time, it was like helping young women, and I wanted to help young women because I saw so many people struggling with relationships, with their goals in life, with being independent, depending on anybody, and I kind of wanted to help women steer away from that. And the desire for that was what really got me in this entrepreneurial mindset, because I was working with for this purpose. It wasn't about the money, which, like, I never looked at, hey, how much money am I going to make from this? It was always like, okay, how am I going to get them from point A to point B? How am I going to help these people that are struggling? And there's clearly a problem because, I keep seeing the same thing over and over again, and it's not a good result.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you mentioned that your first real challenge, if you will, was the program Pain to Victory, I believe you said.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about what steps that you took in order to bring together those partners that you said you worked with, and how did you do it, right? I mean, so I believe you said you sold 30,000 copies of a book. Can you talk about what you did to get those people together, to organize this asset, and then how you sold that many copies?
Yeah, so initially it started with the domestic violent homes and trying to get them to agree with my vision. It was all about selling the vision and the passion behind the vision. And that's when everybody wanted to get involved because they're like, oh, wow, like I see that, you're doing something that's going to impact the world in a big way. And I want to be a part of that. And so that's really how I got the initial partners and the sponsors. Was just by spreading the vision. I literally had nothing but one sheet of paper that explained like what I wanted and how everything would work. But my passion is what really drove that vision and propelled it forward in front of these partners who then wanted to be a part of it and get involved.
Absolutely, absolutely. So then once you got those partners, um, can you talk a little bit about how y'all actually work together, like the process that you took step by step in order to accomplish the goals that you did?
Yeah, so step by step, I mean, first it was about, setting these domestic violent homes like in the spreadsheet and knowing that, where these are the homes we're going to be targeting, these are the victims we're targeting. And then also, moving forward with, okay, so where can I go to find complementary organizations that may also want to take part in this? So that was just a lot of Googling, outreach, calling, meeting people in places, and setting up those partnerships. And then getting those partnerships to help me promote this and to their audiences and to get them involved. And then also helping me sell the sponsorships as well. So it kind of all collectively came together. But step by step, I mean, of course, like each step has more details than that, but that was the main sort of premise.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think we're providing a ton of value on this interview, and I absolutely appreciate that. But let's go further. Let's drill down. I mean, I really want to dig deep into how this came about, because I mean, selling 30,000 copies of anything is quite an achievement. So I think it'd be the most valuable for those listening if we could
Uh-huh.
really dive in and talk about the actual steps that you took, and maybe provide it in an actionable format so that somebody else could come back and kind of follow your blueprint to success.
Yeah, so I mean, the 30,000 books came from the 80 domestic violent homes that I was reaching out to and setting up these different campaigns because every domestic violent home had about 60 victims there. So, like 80 of them, right? It adds up. And then, of course, all the speaking engagements. So, like, I had my year planned out in advance. Every single day, I was going on a podcast interview. I was speaking somewhere. I was having a book signing. I was doing something that was going to increase the reach of my book in mass. And as a writer, as somebody who is promoting something, that's how gun ho you have to be about it. It's like, you have a new single out, you're on tour. Every day is like on the grind for you. You can't just like produce something and hope that everyone's going to buy it, especially in this competitive space. You have to constantly be, promoting stuff and promoting your speech, promoting like what you want to promote about the book, doing book signings, engaging with your audience. I mean, the days that I didn't have an interview or I wasn't speaking, I'd be sending out an email to about, 100,000 people on a cold email list trying to get them interested. So, like, I was always doing something and I was focused on revenue generating activities. So, it wasn't like, my days were planned out to the point where today I'm going to do this and that's it, and I'm going to stop right there. It's like this constant, like, notion of always thinking of how can I promote this? How can I get it out there? And, I look back and I'm like, hey, it was a tough year of hustling and getting people involved, but it was worth it, because now I look back and I'm like, wow, 30,000 people. How did I do that? But it makes sense because, everything adds up and people help you out. And that's what really, increased the numbers exponentially, was when other people helped me promote it as well. And they would receive some sort of earnings per sale, usually around like $6 or something per book sale. So that was another avenue to promote it. And of course, like, building your brand. Building your brand is so important, because when you have that audience, you can sell anything.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's fantastic. So, I want to keep moving forward. You mentioned how after you had this phenomenal year and you reached those 30,000 people, that you realized your passion for marketing, and you then started your own marketing agency. So, can you talk about how you made that transition out of, or if you made a transition out of it, how you moved from, going and speaking and going on all these podcasts and doing book signings and reaching out to people, how you moved from that to starting your own agency, and what that looked like chronologically?
Yeah, so after the book tour, I took a break, and I saw that, wow, like, I could really provide value to companies who want me to do their marketing, because I not only built my brand from ground up, I was able to promote this book um, from 0 to 30,000 copies, and get people engaged. So I think that that's pretty valuable for any company that would want to have those goals or produce a book or anything. So I just started, like, working at different startups in San Diego. And I just said, hey, what sort of value would you put on something like this? Like, I would share my experience. And I said, hey, if I were to do this for you, what is the value of it? And that's when, I would get answers like, hey, can you do this for me? And I got like my first 5 clients. And then that's when I was like, okay, I need an office space. Like, I need a team. I can't just do this on my own. So that's when I started hiring people and, getting things done, like, on a daily basis with them, and being able to execute. It was all about the execution. And getting the team to be involved and hiring the right people, which I wasn't doing. So, but that's what really got me from, the book to the marketing agency. And then having the marketing agency, dealing with clients, I realized that I was always chasing something. I wasn't, fulfilled, because I was either chasing clients, I was chasing the goals of the company, or I was chasing, like, team members to stay on. And that's not the type of culture I wanted to create. And that's when I was struggling with my business, and I hired these business coaches to help me. And they didn't really help me, so I had to kind of just shut down and close shop and start over again.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, you mentioned that there were a few points where you had some hires that didn't really work out. Um, just because I think that learning from both successes and struggles is valuable. Can you talk about some of the things that you would have done differently? If you could go back, what things would you have done differently in order to improve that hiring process and make sure that you don't bring in these people that are not going to help you move forward?
So yeah, one of the things I would have done is start out slow, like give them a test, have them do the test, and if they do a good job, then pay them for the test. But give them small projects to handle at first, and if they do well with those, then give them bigger projects and make it a slow process. The other thing is look for chemistry. I always look for like skills and like industry knowledge, and that really didn't help me because I was like, the chemistry was not there, and it was hard to work with people that just weren't on the same page as you, and that's something I struggled with strongly. So that's one thing I look for now is like, hey, do we jive together? Are we, do we have similar goals? Do we have a similar vision? Do I like working with this person on a daily basis? And then how look at their potential. I mean, does this look at their character? Is this person going to be reliable? Are they going to be able to produce? And so then that's how you assign them a small project and chat, right? And then to see how valuable they are, I like how Elon Musk goes about hiring people. And like he will, anytime somebody, wants a raise or wants to be promoted, he's had this sort of idea where he's like, okay, why don't you leave for 2 weeks and let me see how valuable you were to the company. And if you're not that valuable, then you can just go and be gone. If you are, then, I'll promote you. So that I like that approach, but, and I also look at like how they talk about success. Like, are they talking about success from the perspective of it's all about them and the world revolves around them? Or are they talking about success from like a team standpoint and how they brought success to a bunch of teams, or how they were involved in the whole success process and the failure process? So I always ask them, what's your biggest success and what's your biggest failure? And I see how they describe that and see if, it's in line with like a team effort.
Absolutely, and that is seriously valuable information. For anybody who is looking to build a team, I highly encourage you to go back and watch this part a couple times and really let it sink in what Sweta is talking about, because you were dropping some serious value bombs there. So let's keep moving forward. I want to talk a little bit about the coaches who you brought on to help your business, but inadvertently ended up hurting your business. Can you talk about the kind of the red flags that started to appear before they started to negatively impact your business? Like, if you were to go back, and it's kind of similar to the previous question with hiring, but now for coaches, how could you avoid getting scammed by these people?
So now I like see what value they have to offer, not just by them telling me, because I used to be the type of person that's like, okay, if they tell me something, or if I was referred to them by a good friend of mine, they must be good, but that's never been the case. So now I look at like all around, I look at, hey, is this person really invested in, do they have an interest at heart in my success, or do they not? And that's how I base it on. And, somebody who wants to genuinely help you out isn't going to charge you a lot of money to do that. And if they're really that successful, they really don't need the money from you. They want to provide value and they want to serve. And that's what I'm looking for in a coach now.
Fantastic. And again, if you're looking to bring on new people to your team or to bring in coaches to help you out with your business, go back and watch this part of the interview a couple times and really let that sink in, because it is very, very valuable to bring in the right people to work with. So go back and look at that a couple times. So let's keep moving forward. We talked about how after those couple of unfortunate people you were interacting with through your business, whether it be hires or coaches, you had to close shop. When you did close shop, how did you transition out of being an agency owner, and what did you do once you did close shop to, as you were saying, reset and kind of keep moving forward?
Yeah, so I had to, let my team members know that, hey, we're closing doors. Luckily, I was partnered with a PR agency that still was in business, and they took a lot of my clientele, so that was never an issue. And then we basically I had to tell, my investor that, hey, we have to close shop, and I had to like pay them back. And that's one of the biggest things that was important to me, was being able to pay back the investors and still having that trust. So yeah, those were the steps that I had to take to kind of end everything.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about how you went and started working with that incubator. I believe chronologically that happened after you closed your business. Can you talk about what you were looking for in that incubator and how that helped you to really jumpstart your career again?
Yeah, so I mean, with the incubator, I was actually invited from San Diego to work there, and initially it was just to help their startups. And I was speaking there, and then that's when I really got into it, and I said, hey, I can do more than just speak. So that's when I cut a deal with them, and I said, hey, I need to pay back my investors. I need to sort of turn my life around, and how can I do that in the time that I have? And this was probably the best opportunity I could have to make that happen.
Fantastic, fantastic. So let's talk a little bit um, about what you're doing now. You mentioned a couple different things. You mentioned a community that you're building, but you also mentioned a book that you're launching. So can you kind of take us to chronologically how you started building this community, what steps you're taking now, and maybe just tell us more about that.
So the community is basically consisting of startups that I work with, and founders I've worked with, and marketers that I've known for years. So through like meetups and other networking events. So basically this community, where founders meet marketers in this place called the Founders Growth Exclusive. I want to teach founders how they can steer growth and why it's important for them to steer growth within their organization and not rely on the marketer. Because if you look at the tenor of a CMO, it's like 2 years more or less. And they're also like the least respected in the C-suite. And if anything goes wrong with the revenue, the first person to blame is the marketer. So why would anyone want to be a marketer when they have to live with all of that? So that's why I created this sort of community to help founders make smarter decisions around their revenue growth and really take growth into their own hands, and then direct and delegate based on their growth goals.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, are all of the people in the community people that you've worked with personally, or can
Yeah.
anybody join? And how does somebody actually go about joining that community?
So yeah, it's everybody that I've worked with personally, and yeah, and they can go back and join just through my website, svstartupmarketing.com. I'm working on revamping it, but it's right now it's like bare minimal.
Very cool. Very cool. I'm actually going to put links down below where you can go and join Sweta's community, and or maybe apply to join Sweta's community, and then y'all can continue the conversation more one on one from there. But let's keep going, and let's talk about your book, because that's very exciting. You said you're launching a new book. Can you tell us first what the title is, and then give us a synopsis of what you're going to be talking about?
So the title is Demand Generation IRL, and IRL meaning in real life. And it's all about setting up the team, to setting up your systems, to really setting up a demand gen strategy that propels your business forward. And it's mostly for startups, because I see this over and over again. They don't know how to set up their sort of, I guess, like systems. They don't know how to set up their channels. They don't know what to measure. And this is helping them take a more measurable approach with their goals.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, can you give us like a little bit of a teaser of some of the core concepts that you're going to be talking about, and give us some actionable skills that we can start implementing in our own business today?
Yeah, like how to set, healthy goals, and how to set a budget, because like everybody has this like idea of what the budget should be, but then when they actually crack down on the numbers, they're like, oh wow, but your budget is actually based on your revenue goals. And so that's the first thing. And then how to put together a grand slam marketing team, and using that to set up your channels the right way, how to measure revenue when you do see it coming in, how to track everything from A to Z, and lastly, how to report to the board, because you'll need to have the right numbers to do that sort of reporting.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, we talked a little bit about your past. We talked a little bit about what you're doing now, but I wanna ask you, what is your biggest focus right now? What is the thing that you wake up every day and you work on, and you're going 100% on right now?
It's my passion for this community. I really want to grow this community of marketers and founders to nearly 10,000 people in a couple years.
Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible. Um, so, you know, moving forward in the future, where do you see yourself going? Where do you see yourself in the next 5, 10, 20 years?
I see myself working with a lot of different startup incubators and setting up their processes around sales and marketing, and basically building out my product with the dashboards that helps founders track revenue and track real-time conversions using AI. And that's really where I see myself in the next 5 to 10 years, is to get these initial things launched, build the audience, and then be able to build something that's going to help them track revenue.
Fantastic, fantastic. And as far as technically, skill wise, how are you going to go about building this community and building this audience that you can then help and provide value to?
Yeah, so a lot of it is just a lot of it is through, of course, online marketing and meeting people. I mean, this is my Rolodex that I'm kind of dumping into this community, along with other people that I know that also have Rolodexes, and doing a lot of cold email outreach and email marketing campaigns, co-promotions.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, we've been talking a lot about the professional Sweta and all the incredible business things that you're doing. But
Uh-huh.
can you give us a little bit of an insight on your personal life? Where are you personally nowadays, and what do you see yourself doing moving forward?
Yeah, so now I'm focused on just like I love salsa dancing, I love running. I'm focused on basically running a marathon, a couple marathons in the coming year. And I'm also wanting to go to a different like salsa congress to just, better my skills. I've been dancing for about 10 years now, so that's something that I like to do in my downtime. And coaching girls, young girls that also have a passion for running, and helping them reach their dreams. And I do a lot of work with kids who have disabilities, but want to be able to, be performing as like an athlete. So I play different sports with kids with disabilities as well.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. So, Sweta, I definitely want to thank you so much for jumping on this interview today. It has been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. I do have one more question for you, though, um, and that is there anything about yourself that you think is an important part of who you are that we did not cover today? In other words, what did I miss?
So I guess like in terms of contacting me, anybody, I'd love to hear from you. I'm always willing to help out. I love answering questions. Drop me a line, Sweta at svstartupmarketing.com. And then I think we pretty much went into depth about everything then.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, again, Sweta, I want to thank you so much for jumping on the interview today. Really do appreciate your time, and to everybody in the Project Egg community, I want to thank y'all. Y'all are the reason that we do this. And again, all the links that we talked about are going to be down below in the show notes. So go check those out. Highly, highly encourage you to reach out to Sweta. So yeah, that's it. Great. Thank you so much, and let's build a better world together. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben.